seeing that everybody in his team is on steroids, which means including him. So he never.
Some way responsible for the performance-enhancing drugs that are being used by fighters that fought in his gym. Specifically, off the top of my head, you have Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez had popped for clenbuterol.
And Canelo, man, I don't know if he's cheating.
What do you mean?
I feel like Canelo juices.
A wave of controversy has erupted in the boxing world as several well-known professionals accuse Canelo Alvarez of using steroids in the lead-up to his blockbuster fight against Terence Crawford. These accusations stem from his noticeably rapid muscle growth and a history that already includes failed PED tests. David Benavidez, one of Canelo's most vocal critics, has also joined the discussion, openly questioning why Canelo continues to avoid fighting him if he truly has supreme confidence in his abilities. Benavidez points out that no fewer than 5 members of Canelo's own team have previously tested positive for banned substances, claiming this isn't an isolated issue, it's a culture of doping within the camp, one that includes Canelo himself. With the Crawford fight looming, these allegations are adding serious weight to an already high-stakes showdown.
Greatest Mexican boxing fights of all time, in my opinion. Yeah. So I feel like I'm 100% confident in myself. If Canelo was 100% confident in himself, I don't know why he wouldn't fight me, especially since, seeing that everybody in his team is on steroids, which means including him. So he never got off
You think he's on steroids?
Of course. Sure. How does 5?
You saw De La Hoya
how do 5 people out of your camp get tested positive for steroids? Right. You know what I mean? No, all those fucking dudes in that camp are doing.
I seen Eddie Reynoso on my fight, so we made a joke. He said like he came to watch me the fight and shit. And then they're like, "Oh, you think he's?" In my head, I'm like, "What do you think Eddie Reynoso's thinking about? Are we gonna fight David Benavidez after seeing this fight?" In his head, Eddie Reynoso's like, "Fuck no, we're not fighting him."
Yeah, of course. Honestly, I don't blame Canelo. It's fucked up because there's a lot of money.
It's not even about the money. It's not about that.
Yeah, but okay, 100 million, dude. You think you kidding
me?
The
first step when you're a fucking warrior, bro, the only thing you think about is money. I've never thought about money. I've been smart. I'm negotiating my shit. But it's always a prize, bro. It's always go out there and beat Canelo, bro. I'm a legend. You know what I mean? That I'm gonna live forever in boxing as a legend. That means way more to me than any type of.
Yeah. And I think that separates you too, David. I admire that shit about you. I was like that at one point.
Yeah.
How much you give?
Yeah.
and not to just bypass him. Shout out to Morel as well.
Yeah, shout out to
The spotlight has also shifted to Eddie Reynoso's gym, where Canelo trains, as the camp faces heavy scrutiny from fans and analysts alike. Allegations have surfaced suggesting that Reynoso himself may be directly supplying fighters in his stable with performance-enhancing drugs. These claims gain more traction when critics point out that several fighters under Reynoso's guidance have failed drug tests in recent years, further raising suspicion about the training environment. Canelo, who has twice faced PED-related allegations in the past, finds himself at the center of the storm again. As he prepares for his clash with Crawford, many are openly asking how he has managed to bulk up so quickly, a transformation that some believe cannot be explained by hard work alone.
Serious accusations about his gym. And the accusations are that people, or at least the implications are, that he is the one that is providing performance-enhancing drugs or is in some way responsible for the performance-enhancing drugs that are being used by fighters that fought in his gym. Specifically, off the top of my head, you have Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez had popped for clenbuterol 2 times. For Fahim Satur, I'll say that he did it 2 times, even though I think it was for the same fight. But Canelo Alvarez popped dirty for clenbuterol 2 times. You have Luis Nery, who had tested positive, but I think Luis Nery tested positive before he was with Eddie Reynoso. Then you have Ryan Garcia, who popped dirty after he left Eddie Reynoso and went over to Derek James. And then you have Oscar Valdez. Oscar Valdez popped dirty while he was with Eddie Reynoso, but at the time he was still allowed to fight. You also clearly see that you have an issue with the fight that's coming up with Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, in that you have one guy that tested positive, and you have another guy that looks like he's using in order to get up and continue to climb up weight classes. You know, at a certain point in time, and this is something that Rolly Romero has said, a certain point in time, your body just doesn't do that. At a certain point in time, your body just doesn't do it. I'm 6'2", 200, and should weigh about 210. Closer to 250, but I should weigh about 210. I'm not gonna get up. If I was 210 now at 50 years old, I'm not. If by 55 years old, I'm not. The only way I'm gonna get up to 260 of muscle is.
Boxing observers and sports scientists alike have noted that packing on significant amounts of muscle naturally becomes extremely difficult once an athlete reaches their 30s.
Yet, Canelo's recent transformation shows a physique that appears noticeably larger and more defined than in previous years.
Given the history of failed tests in Reynoso's camp, these physical changes have only intensified speculation. Fans, analysts, and even rival fighters are beginning to wonder aloud whether this transformation is purely the result of training or if performance-enhancing drugs are quietly shaping the course of another major fight.
For a 30-year-old, right, you remember, your body grows, men's body can grow in height and length up until you're to the extreme in your 20s. By the time you're 20, your height and all that stuff is there, right? Your height and your length. In your mid-20s, you know, by the time you're 29, your musculature is pretty much there. It gets harder to gain and put on muscle after 30. So Canelo Alvarez is about to fight a guy that is going to put on 20 pounds of muscle.
Joe Rogan's recent remarks on Canelo's transformation have sparked intense conversations across the boxing landscape. As someone with decades of experience discussing combat sports and human performance, Rogan didn't mince words. He found it highly unusual, from a biological standpoint, for someone in their 30s to build muscle mass at such a rapid rate. He reminded his audience that natural muscle growth slows dramatically with age, making Canelo's sudden size increase a near impossible feat without external help. Rogan stressed that this isn't simply an opinion, it's supported by science. Coming from a voice with Rogan's reach and knowledge of elite athletic conditioning, these doubts carry significant weight in the court of public opinion.
Canelo, man, I don't know if he's cheating.
What do you mean?
I feel like Canelo juices. But I'm a Triple G fan, so I'm a say that ahead of time. I just like Triple G.
There's a lot of money on the line, and if I could get away with it, I would do it as well.
Some tainted beefs.
I think, well, he definitely got busted once for something, but it could have been from tainted beef. We don't know. But it also could be that, we should probably leave them alone and let them do whatever they want to do. Do you want to see Manny Pacquiao fight or not? Right? I want to see him juiced up, fighting at 45 years of age, coming in with a full six-pack, lighting people.
With the date for Canelo versus Terence Crawford drawing closer, the chatter about possible steroid use is only getting louder. Many fans and industry insiders openly admit they would not be surprised if Canelo was found to be using banned substances. Their reasoning is rooted in the fact that Canelo has unlimited access to world-class facilities, top-tier nutritionists, experienced sports doctors, and advanced recovery technology. In such an environment, critics argue the temptation and opportunity to take shortcuts is very real. They believe that the combination of vast resources and the desire to remain at the top creates a perfect storm for PED use to go undetected, at least for a time.
What up, everybody? It's your boy MC from MCTV. I wouldn't be surprised if Canelo Alvarez is on steroids right now as we speak and is going to be fully juiced with something that hasn't even hit the market yet. Think about it, he's pretty much a billionaire.
Floyd Mayweather, never shy about speaking his mind, has repeatedly brought up the issue of Canelo and steroids over the years. He has openly accused the boxing world of turning a blind eye to the subject, saying too many people are afraid to confront the issue directly. Mayweather argues that there is a double standard in boxing. Some fighters are scrutinized harshly, while others, like Canelo, are protected by their marketability and status. Floyd's position is clear: steroid use is not just a form of cheating, it's dangerous, and it damages the integrity of the sport. He believes the boxing community, from promoters to broadcasters, has been too willing to ignore red flags when it comes to Canelo.
We don't talk about is, Canelo. steroids. They don't talk about that. So we don't know. We really don't know all the fighters he beat. He could have been not clean in a lot of fights.
As the Canelo versus Crawford fight approaches, the steroid accusations have gone beyond analysts and insiders. They've become fuel for heated debates among fans. Supporters of Crawford question Canelo's size, punching power, and rapid physical transformation, while Canelo's backers point fingers at Crawford, raising doubts about his endurance and strength at a higher weight class. The rivalry between the fan bases has grown so intense that both fighters have agreed to undergo rigorous drug testing in the build-up to the bout. These tests are not just procedural, they are being conducted to reassure a skeptical public. The fact that both camps felt pressured to address PED concerns publicly speaks volumes about the trust issues currently plaguing the sport.
Canelo and Crawford are strictly and consistently doing random data testing in order to silence each other's fanbase and their critics ahead of their showdown this September. Now, despite this being a normal thing, the gravity of this fight brings in more attention to their test results, partly due to the fact that suspicion regarding both men have been up as of lately, namely Crawford's sudden bulk and jump to 168 and his close relationship with Snack and Victor Conti, and of course the recent PED scandals being associated with Team Canelo, as well as him once testing positive for clenbuterol 7 years ago due to contaminated meat. With that said, both men have been doing random testing since June and will undergo strict and consistent random tests up until they finally meet next month. Now, it's worth remembering that despite all the recent allegations for Canelo and Crawford, both fighters have been consistent.
It's worth remembering that Canelo Alvarez didn't always carry the intimidating size and power he has today. In his early career, he fought more like a natural welterweight, smaller, quicker, and relying heavily on speed. Over time, however, his transformation has been striking. Today, he's not only matching up against naturally larger opponents, he's overpowering them physically. This dramatic evolution has reignited questions about how exactly he achieved such growth. While some attribute it to disciplined training, elite nutrition, and years of professional experience, others see it as a red flag, especially given his age and the sport's physical demands.
But I think you gotta lean more towards Canelo, because like I said before, he been pitting big guys out and down, and Canelo not even really a 68 pounder. He probably really should be at 60 maybe, and he been hurting these guys. I think he be dropping these guys and things like that. So, and them guys be way bigger than him come fight night. I know that for sure. Maybe probably close to 200 pounds, and he dropping those guys like that. So, I don't know. It's gonna be a great fight. The fans want to see it. So, so be it. I think Crawford should take a warm-up fight. At like 60, or like at least at 60, just to get his body, the feeling of somebody a little bit bigger, and things like that. I know when you go up in weight, you gotta, develop that power and not develop the power, but like put that muscle on and be heavy and things like that. So he might not want to take a fight because he's trying to build up right now. But I think he should, just to stay sharp and that way he don't have like a long layoff or anything.
Nico Ali Walsh, a rising star in boxing and the grandson of the legendary Muhammad Ali, has offered his own take on Terence Crawford's preparation for the fight. He stressed that Crawford isn't walking into the ring blindly or underestimating the size disadvantage he'll face. Instead, Crawford has been sparring with much larger, stronger fighters to acclimate himself to the kind of power Canelo possesses. Walsh calls this a smart, calculated approach, one that turns a potential weakness into a strategic strength. In his eyes, the difference between a good fighter and a great one is the ability to adapt, and Crawford's training camp is doing exactly that.
People with Canelo before Canelo's last fight, but then after Canelo's last fight, it seems like it's more 50-50 now. So everything is just the build up for that fight is just going to be absolutely magnetizing. Like that fight, it's garnered so much more buzz after Canelo's last fight, and Bud is Bud. He's one of the greatest fighters in boxing history. He is one of the greatest fighters in boxing history. So it's going to be a fight. It's going to be awesome to watch.
Have you sparred any of them?
I haven't sparred Bud yet. I haven't been in Canelo's camp. I've met Canelo a few times. I love Canelo's team. Canelo's one of my favorite fighters. He's been my favorite fighter for the longest time. But I have to be Team Bud because me and Bud are cool, and I have so much belief in Bud, and I know who he is as a fighter. He is one of the greats. So he could do anything, you know, he wants.
And being around both of them and seeing how they work and train and things like that, what makes both of them the fighters they are, in your opinion?
I've watched Bud, so for Bud in particular, he's calm in everything he does, and that kind of calm is scary to watch because it shows experience. You can see that he's been doing this for decades. You can see it with his shadow boxing. You can see it.
Veteran boxing journalist Dan Rafael has weighed in on Crawford's motivation for taking on such a dangerous fight. To Rafael, this bout is not about a massive payday, it's about building a lasting legacy. Crawford, he says, wants to be remembered as more than just a dominant champion, he wants to be remembered as a fighter who took on the toughest challenges. This fight with Canelo is the definition of high risk, high reward. But Rafael also warns that the margin for error will be razor thin. Against Canelo, a single lapse in judgment could be the difference between victory and defeat.
I think Terence Crawford is a marvelous boxer, arguably the best in the world, pound for pound. But can you hurt Canelo? If you can't hurt him, I have no doubt he can outbox him. My issue is, if you can't hurt him, what kind of a challenge can you truly pose? What do you say to that?
No, that's a great point. I mean, here's the thing. Canelo Alvarez has a historically great chin. Now, I go way back when he first came to the United States and started boxing, and he found himself on an HBO pay-per-view undercard years and years ago, fighting against the older brother of the great Miguel Cotto. His name was Jose Miguel Cotto, and he had gotten a ton of hype. He had signed with Golden Boy Promotions and a lot of those of us in the media. And I had seen him a couple of times before that. This is my first time seeing him in person, really paying close attention. And he almost got knocked out in the first round. And I remember Stephen A. all of us looking around at Media Row going, what the heck is this all hyped about? This man can't take a shot. He's going to get drilled. He was lucky that the fight was over, that the round was over in round one, or there might have been some much more trouble. Stephen A., that was like, I don't know, 16, 17 years ago. I've never seen him wobbled, rocked, physically, visibly hurt since then. He has an all-time great chin going in the ring with tremendous punchers. Terence Crawford coming up 2 weight classes, do any damage. Yeah, he's a slick boxer, and he's also a good puncher in the welterweight division, in the junior welterweight division, in the lightweight division. But even at junior middleweight, which is where Terence Crawford had his most recent fight back in August, when he moved up and he won a world title, he didn't blow the doors off. He fought a very tough, solid opponent named Israel Madrimov. He gave him a good fight. It was very close. Madrimov's people seem to think he might have even been able to edge it out. But if you can't hurt an Israel Madrimov at 154, what the heck are you going to do with Canelo Alvarez, the sturdiest guy in the world, at 168? So that aspect of it is certainly a problem. You mentioned about Charlo. Charlo was there to get his check. I know one thing about Terence Crawford. He's not going to just come to turn up to get the check. He'll at least try. And Charlo, I don't think, really tried.
One of Crawford's greatest strengths is his ability to control a fight without relying on brute force. He systematically dismantles opponents using skill, timing, and intelligence. Whether fighting orthodox or southpaw, he dictates the pace and forces his opponents to fight his fight. This adaptability poses a serious challenge for a power-based fighter like Canelo. While Canelo may enjoy the advantages of size and raw strength, Crawford's mastery of distance, angles, and movement could neutralize those strengths. If Crawford can avoid risky exchanges, pick his spots, and capitalize on Canelo's slower footwork, he could frustrate and outscore him.
Bullies, it's somebody whose style is based around being the bigger guy, being the stronger guy. But Crawford is a very cerebral, very technical boxer, and I think that's why I'd never really considered this before. But also, I didn't actually realize until I sat down properly and thought about this, just how much weight Crawford has been piling on when he gets into the ring after the weigh-in. And look, these are not numbers that are out of the ordinary, but he's obviously cutting himself down so much in camp from whatever his walking around weight is. And it must be muscle that he's taking off. And perhaps that's why he's only fighting once a year, because there will be some fat, of course there will be, but the dude is not overweight. The dude still looks pretty ripped from what I've seen when he's not in training camp. However, there's not that many photos of him with his top off when he's not actually in training camp. So it's really hard to tell what his body composition is when he's walking around at these big weights. But the fact is, his fight night weight was 169 let's just call it 170 pounds, which is huge, absolutely huge for a 154 pounder. Especially, it's just shocked me that he's come up from 135 and now he's still putting on that much weight. He's rehydrating that much at 154. And indeed, to bring us even closer to the modern day, the thing that was posted, and again, this is the second time we've seen this, is why I'm kind of thinking there's a bit of a theme here with Crawford posting his weight when he's not actually in full training camp. On February the 9th, 2025, he posted an Instagram story, and he showed himself weighing 186 pounds on a gym scale. Now, that's so much bigger than I imagined Crawford would be. I never thought this guy would walk around 186 pounds, which for anyone who needs the conversion is just over 84 kilograms. And now look, it's not an unthinkable weight for someone, but for someone who has fought as low as Crawford has, who is generally as lean and as in shape as Crawford is, that's a lot.
Light heavyweight contender Marcus Brown has seen Crawford up close in the gym and rejects the idea that he'll be intimidated by Canelo's size. Brown reveals that Crawford routinely spars with fighters much bigger than himself, including some who resemble heavyweights in size and punching power. In these sessions, Crawford not only holds his own but remains calm, collected, and fully committed to executing his strategy. Brown emphasizes that Crawford's composure under pressure is one of his most dangerous weapons. This mental toughness, combined with careful preparation, could be the factor that allows him to withstand Canelo's physical advantages.
Crawford. Typically fighters, they don't want to say who they want to go for because, they don't want to be biased. Yeah. And much respect to Canelo, but I'm going Bud.
Is there a particular reason why? Like, you're a guy that's moved up in weight, so you know exactly what it feels like to get hit by these bigger guys. Is that something that's going to play in the back of his head? Like,
of course.
Gotta watch out.
It is, but it's not. Because at the end of the day, it's not like he just been in there, got in there with somebody bigger than him. He's always probably been sparring with bigger guys, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's that boxing IQ, which, William Skull didn't put up no fight, but he showed somewhat of a blueprint to get this guy, in a space where he's confused.
Yeah.
And he can't touch the target that's in front of him. Yeah.
That's it for today's coverage. Stay tuned for more updates as the tension builds toward one of boxing's most talked about and controversial matchups in recent years.